If you at all believe in the paranormal, then you must admit that cats can see ghosts. The non-believers will tell you that they're just staring at some insect that you can't see. How can anyone buy that? Okay, maybe in my place, someone can buy that. There are clothes, blankets, and fast food containers everywhere. I'll be the first to admit, it's all starting to have a smell. I'm going to clean it up, but it's been hard. I never liked going outside. I guess the medical diagnosis would be agoraphobia, but I never had that done. Instead, I call it the 100 eyes. That's what my mom called it. The 100 eyes of every stranger in the city looking at you. And that's another anxiety she passed down, mother to daughter. I only willingly share my one-bedroom apartment with one other set of eyes. My kind of annoying Bombay cat, Luke, is the only other tenant on this lease. He knocks stuff over all the time. He scratches the furniture. And somehow last week, he lost his collar. He seems to not mind the mess and the confinement, but he has been staring at walls more than usual. The 100 eyes had gotten worse since the pandemic. Fighting your fears is something one must work on every day. Fear is a demon that creeps in anytime you're not vigilant. The pandemic made it far too easy for it. We were told to stay in our homes. My vice became my virtue. I was somehow telling myself what I was doing was healthy. I didn't see anyone, not the delivery men who left food on my doormat, not my coworkers or friends, to whom I would only speak by chat. I was living in my perfect little world until the cement set, and alone became my way of life. Like most real-life stories, there's no actual moment when it started. Just one day after another, I started noticing bruises and scratches on my body. Things I didn't remember getting. The weirdest gash on the back of my right hand that would not heal. Without going outside or having sexual partners, explanations for bruises run out very fast. It only took me a few days to notice that I got all the new ones in the morning. This is when I figured out I was sleepwalking. I mean, this was not a great surprise. Somewhere between depression and anxiety, my mind felt like mush on a good day. My mental state, taking a physical form and a toll on my body, was only a matter of time. I downloaded an app and found a way to prop up my phone. It would record video if there was motion. Then I put on a t-shirt and small shorts in case I had to show the footage to a psychologist, and climbed into bed. Sleep took me soon. Insomnia is one thing I can't complain about. And I only woke up to my alarm in the morning coming from a weird place. I sat up and tried to figure out where it was. I remembered leaving my phone on the dresser, but instead, I found it laying on the floor. I guess the four-legged friend I had knocked it over. I didn't get to review the footage until lunchtime. I was not expecting much. Unsurprisingly, the first video was of Luke. He jumped on the bed, then near the camera. After that, I watched my phone fall to the clothes below. I was almost ready to be done, but then I noticed there was a second clip. The phone did not get much, but a naked heel entered the frame that stayed there for a few seconds. Sweat covered my body. I looked down at my foot, comparing it to the screen. Was it mine? It looked like a woman's foot, but that was about it. I cursed myself for not wearing socks or having a tattoo, and then walked over to the spot I may have been standing. If that was me, I stayed in that spot long enough to be doing something. This corner of my bedroom was not any more interesting than any other. Just more piled bed sheets and clothing. I kneeled down to see if there was anything there. I really should clean. I was going to clean today after work, but this new wave of anxiety meant today was going to be Netflix and ice cream on the couch. There was nothing on the floor, but then, as I threw my laundry to the side, I saw a break in the molding. There was a hole about the size of a brick leading into the apartment's walls. I kneeled down and tried to look inside. Deep in the wall, there was wires and darkness. Looking into it, I felt like the darkness looked back at me, the 100 eyes. With frustration, I threw the clothing back into a pile. I would have to call the super, but that's only after I cleaned up. At this rate, I might just get evicted instead. This place was really starting to smell. I dug up a phone stand. It was for a car I didn't have. This is why White Elephant is a terrible Christmas game. I propped up my phone, getting it firmly in place the best I could. Luke watched me with fascination. I then put on socks and went to sleep. The next morning, my phone, stand and all, were again on the floor. Luke innocently strolled around and then buried his face in his disgusting fishy breakfast. I had more cuts and bruises. My hand was freshly bleeding, and this time, I knew that it was my foot in the video, doing something in that corner. Is that what I did every night? I dug into the corners of my apartment, working on losing my deposit. I was going to get it on video, and the cat be damned. I waited until nighttime, trying to fill my mind with anything else. Nothing seemed to matter, and I just watched TV feeling numb and empty. Just before bed, I lured Luke out with a treat, then shut my bedroom door. He was scratching, but I placed the phone on a bookshelf, with a good view of the bed in the corner. Then, I covered it with books, until it was almost impossible to see. I let him in and somehow climbed into bed and fell asleep. In the morning, the phone was where I left it. I was too excited to wait for lunch. Instead of even having coffee, I sat on the little kitchen table and started going through the footage. The first thing I saw was Luke left my bedroom, but then came back later. I had a lot more clips of him going in and out from this new angle. Then, he came in and jumped on the dresser. He looked around, but there was no phone. So instead, he knocked over some of my makeup. Then, he proceeded to where I used to keep the phone as an alarm. He examined that spot and then ran around the room. I watched myself lay in bed. It somehow felt weird and uncomfortable, like I was intruding on someone's privacy, like someone was intruding on mine. As I had my eyes fixed on my phone, Luke rubbed himself against my leg while I continued watching the clip. In the video, unable to find my phone, the cat jumped on my bed. My sleeping body did not react. He then jumped on my chest. The sleeping me convulsed like I was having a seizure. She squirmed and her arm struck the bed. Luke jumped out of the way, but was right on her the moment she stopped moving. This went on for a few minutes, until finally, her movement stopped, and he sat on her, like victoriously broken in a wild horse. Then, she rose, with Luke skillfully climbing up to her head, and we headed to the corner. She moved all of the crap out of the way and kneeled at the hole. There, she just stuck her hand, my hand, into it, and sat without motion. She must have been so still that the video stopped recording, only to catch her returning to bed, Luke jumping off of her head and slipping out of the shot. I looked back and around my kitchen. I couldn't see Luke. I didn't know what to think. I was scared, and I wanted to find that cat. my hand throbbing and fresh blood dripping onto my floor. He was not in the living room or the bedroom. He could have been anywhere, under any sheet. He could have been any bump on the floor. I had to find him. I didn't know why. It wasn't like I could question the cat. Somehow, though, I knew that my life depended on knowing where he was. I started picking things up one by one. I could feel the smell in my apartment. As I worked, there was a center to it, a ground zero. I stood over the spot and slowly lifted a blanket. The thing below was moving and crawling. It was maggots, having a feast of something black with clumps of fur, maybe dead a week. It was what was left of my cat Luke. I screamed. I first screamed in terror. Then, I screamed as claws sank into my back. I spun around and threw the thing that looked like Luke off of me. It hissed and then scurried into the bedroom. In that moment, I saw it. It looked exactly like Luke, but my cat was dead. His lost collar was around the corpse's neck. I gave chase, but it was no use. It ran to the corner, dove into the bedsheets, and then disappeared into the hole. In the darkness, I could see eyes. I knew they weren't real, but I could see them. They were all looking at me, waiting for me to give them my hand, to let them drink. I didn't know whom to call or what to do. I just sat there and cried for what must have been hours. Then I stood up and started to clean. I used up a box of trash bags. I didn't care what it was. If it was on the floor, it was gone. I crammed it all down the chute without a second thought. Then I grabbed a shelf off a closet, my tiny toolbox, and nailed it over the hole in the molding. That didn't make me feel any better. I'm laying on the couch, with the bedroom door closed and barricaded by 3 chains. I can't sleep. I can't leave. I don't know what'll happen when I close my eyes.